Welcome back. Last time we talked about common ground for public discourse. This time we want to talk about different levels of human personality or different levels of human personhood. Let's look at the handout again. And I've also drawn a diagram of this. We're going to go over the handout first, and then I'll go over a diagram so you can see that we have different levels of human personality, and a lot of our disputes are over less basic levels of our personality. So we want to start with the most basic level. Let's talk about this first line though, addressing human beings in public discourse. Human beings are highly complex persons, and we each bring our whole being into our conversations. It's important to recognize the different levels of human personhood in order to keep our focus on what is more basic when in conversation with our fellow human beings. So we're going to see that as human beings, we have certain things that are common to all human beings, things that are universal, so to speak. If we focus on those things, it seems like we might make more progress than if we argue over things that are less basic and not universal, but are particular to individuals. We can't deny the particulars, but we can put them into context. So that's what we want to do right now with this handout. All right, so we're going to start with the most basic level of human personhood, and each of these points on the handout will lead us to a less and less basic point. And then I'll show you the diagram that I use to help us keep that in mind. All right, first, the most basic level of human personhood is that we are rational, sentient beings, or we are rational animals. Okay, sentient means we have senses, we have a body that senses. So we have reason and we have a body. Our human dignity consists in our rationality, which differentiates us from other sentient beings. Animals also have bodies, but they don't have rationality. We'll talk about that later. Our sentience consists in our having a body and 5 senses. Reason is more basic than the senses. Okay, so think about that. Is it true? Reason is more basic than our senses? Reason is to rule over our senses. How do we do that? We do it all the time. Maybe I'm being distracted right now by something that's at my window. Instead of looking at it, I could continue talking to you, right? I can control my senses. Well, I can control what I do with my senses. Okay, reason rules. We are embodied rational beings. These are the essential features of being human. Now, what follows are non-essential features or accidental features of being human. So not only is rationality a universal, but it is a necessary, essential feature of being human. If you were to take away our rationality, we wouldn't be human anymore. It's what makes us human. Now, the things that come after this are things that are non-essential. If you were to take this away, we would still be human, okay? And some of the things on this list we change. For example, this next level, this is less basic, going up. So if we start at where human starts at the most basic, this is the next level up. Each human being has presuppositions. Presuppositions are things that we presuppose, things that are assumed. We have presuppositions or basic beliefs about reality. We have presupposed some views about reality. There are 2 basic beliefs or 2 basic views about reality, and they're contradictory. These 2 views are either all that exists is eternal, where eternal means no beginning and no end. Everything that has ever existed has always existed. It's forever, everything. Okay, that's one version of a presupposition. The other is that only some things are eternal. Only some things, not every single thing. So there's only something that has been here forever in the past and forever in the future. All right, now, if you want some examples, we will discuss this in depth as we go along, but if you want some examples, under all is eternal is the positions of modern materialism, material monism. There's only one thing that exists, and this one thing is matter. Or possibly the alternative or the exact opposite, Hinduism. Some philosophical Hinduism says that all that exists is spirit, and there is no matter, and there's just one thing that has always existed, and it's spirit. Spirit is that which has no size and is conscious. Matter is that which has size and is not conscious. So material monism says there's one thing, and it's matter, and they have to explain consciousness in terms of matter. Or spiritual monism, everything is spirit, and they have to explain the existence of appearance of matter. Now, there's another view under all is eternal, and that says two things are eternal. This is dualism. Plato and Aristotle were dualists. They thought that two things were eternal, matter and spirit were co-eternal forever. One more version of all is eternal is Buddhism, which says the process of being and becoming is eternal. We'll look at these views as we go. We'll critically assess them, test them for meaning. The other one, though, only some is eternal, is like God is eternal. A spirit, God, created everything that is non-eternal is temporal, and views that fall under that are Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So we'll look at those contradictory views as we go through our discussion. But you can see we're talking about public discourse, and these are huge differences among human beings. These are the biggest divisions there are among human beings, because all of the world's philosophies fall under these two differences. All of the world's religions fall under these two differences, and we all have a presupposition. This is like our philosophy, our house. Remember when I drew the house, our world and life view? We all have one, and it's either all is eternal or only some is eternal. So our world and life view is constructed upon the basis of our basic belief. I'll draw your attention back to the house. Everyone has one, and we are more or less conscious of our presupposition. My job is to help you become more conscious of your presupposition. All right, the third point is that each human being, now remember this is less basic, each human being has a different personality type. Perhaps you've taken a personality test like the Myers-Briggs test, or what is your true color. We can see these differences across time and across cultures, that humans roughly fall under philosophically inclined personality types, psychologically inclined personality types, or practically inclined personality types. So you might be thinking, well, what's my personality type? Think about if you had 8 hours of free time, how would you want to spend your time? Would you spend your time reading something like, I don't know, philosophy or theoretical physics? Or would you want to go hang out with your friends and be social? Would you want to help people? Would you want to engage in counseling others? Or would you maybe want to go do something, build something, go hiking, play sports? So these are roughly philosophical, idea-oriented people, psychological feelings, people, feeling-oriented or people, or practical, you just want to do stuff. So we'll talk more about this, but the differences we have in our personalities often cause conflicts. We can dispute over these differences. So some of the causes of dispute are because we're arguing about personality differences. When we can always say, hey, you know what? The more basic level is we're people, we're rational animals. Let's not argue over a less basic thing like our personality type. Now, even less basic than that is our background. Each human being has a different background and experiences that include the following things. And it includes much more than this: race, ethnicity, gender identity, education, geography, socioeconomic factors, family history, our different generations, birth order. All of these are different in background. These are particular to us. And a lot of times we dispute over these things. Think about the focus on race right now, or gender identity, and how heated that discussion is. These are not essential features of being human. They're accidental features. The color of my hair, the color of my skin is an accidental feature. An essential feature is that I'm a rational animal. Okay. Then the next level, and this is even less basic than that, is each human being is unique and has a unique essence, their own uniqueness. So this is connected to our talent and our particular combination of background, personality, and who we are and where we are in the world. There's nobody else like you. It's sort of true. You are a unique snowflake. This is the uniqueness level. But we can't elevate uniqueness above other aspects that are more basic. We can't elevate our uniqueness above our humanness, our essential features, okay? And then lastly, each human being may fluctuate in our moods. We have different moods. We change. We're changeable. We may fluctuate in mood from desiring to use reason to not desiring to use reason at any given moment. And this is the least basic level, okay? We could be saying 1 minute, I'm totally committed to reason and the laws of thought, and then something bad happens, and then boom, we're in a different mood right now, and then things change. Now think about how this works in conversations with others. Remember, the larger context is public discourse. Something somebody says could set us off. We could be triggered, right? Our mood will change. And maybe we might have to say to a person, hey, you know what? Maybe we should talk about this at another time when we are in a better position to think objectively about this. I'm just not in the mood right now. I have to tell people I'm not in the mood right now. And I think that's okay. Sometimes you have to come back to a conversation several times. Okay, so here's the diagram that Okay, so if you look at the bottom here, you can see that I have put the more basic at this level, and each of the points we just covered is going to a less and less basic level. So at the very bottom is that we are rational animals. We have a mind, that's the rational part, and a body, that's the animal part. And this is universal to all human beings. This is an essential feature of what it means to be a human. But notice we go up and the next level, and I drew a line here to make a distinction between what is universal and what is not universal. It is not a universal that we have the same basic beliefs. We don't. This is the first place that we have disputes. Remember, we want to settle disputes. So we have presuppositions, we have basic beliefs, and then that's the second level. The biggest division among human beings is our division over basic beliefs. The third level is personality, going up, and I showed you, I mentioned these three, philosophical, psychological, practical. I put them this way because of the order. Reason, emotion, will. It comes out in different personality types. The philosophical is logically prior to the psychological and the practical. And then going up, I put the background and all of the differences there. There may be more differences than what I have here, but at least these are differences we can notice. And then our uniqueness, and then our mood. So here's a diagram that will help us to see the relationship starting with the bottom and working our way up. And we may have to locate the source of a person's dispute or disagreement within these levels sometimes. We have to remember people are very complex and they have a lot going into what they're saying at any given moment. So if we're aware of the differences in our nature, different levels, and differences between people, we are more conscious of the possible sources of disputes. Okay, so let's wrap up this part of our discussion. Next time we'll talk about how do we discuss these disputes, particularly about our basic beliefs. So we'll talk about public discourse and the most basic questions, the metaphysics questions and the ethics questions we've been kind of mentioning here and there. All right, so next time it's going to be exciting.